here in round number 6 between our runner-up for our Standard Open and a player chasing Open Series points to qualify for the Players' Championship later this year. Nelson on a mulligan of 6. They're waiting for the green light. And in just a minute here, play will begin.
Between his runner-up finish with Bloodstone Champion and now 5-0 with Affinity, Andy Ferguson is definitely becoming one of my favorite people in the tournament.
I agree.
I'm in the fan club.
It's a signal pass to start it up. Off of a Vault of Whispers, Nelson is going to sacrifice Mr. Rainforest here. I like that, you know, there's always this tension, you know, when you sit down across from your opponent. It's like, okay, I don't really know what they're playing against. Probably haven't seen him yet. We'll see what the first couple of turns go. And your opponent's just like, Artifact Land Signal Best. Well, okay.
Gotcha. All right.
I know exactly what's going on.
If I get surprised in this game, it's my own fault.
This is true. This is true. There's an
Overmaster.
All right, Brad. This has got Jerry probably got him to play this card. This is the Jerry T special.
Sure.
Jerry's gotten me to play that card in a tournament before. To be fair, it was very good, making show and tell resolve a bunch.
I mean, for these kind of decks, it's almost like a silence that can draw a card.
Yeah. And if it doesn't do anything, if it doesn't do anything, you just cast it, you can't trip, and you just move on with life, which is what Nelson did that turn. Ferguson will draw. We'll see what he can put together for a second turn of the game. He is shaking his head, doesn't look too happy. I guess his draw isn't explosive as he'd like it to be. There's an Ancient Tomb. 2 mana. Tomb, an interesting inclusion in this deck. Arcbound Ravager. It's kind of like a free roll. You know, you get to play 4 of them. You don't really care about your life total all that much.
It's sort of a free roll. I mean, the artifact lands often approximate Ancient Tombs anyway.
There's a Gitaxian Probe. Take a look at Ferguson's hand. An Ancient Den. Next Champion. Another Ravager over there as well. Looks like a Thoughtcast too. So definitely some powerful cards there, but slow to deploy them.
And missing blue mana right now, so you can't Thoughtcast.
Yeah.
But some mana and a little bit of pressure. He'll start getting going soon, I'm sure.
Nelson going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn and get a Volcanic Island. He can safely search for non-basics in this matchup. He's tapping 3 mana. I think we've seen this song and dance before. It's Show and Tell. Brad has an Emrakul. Neat.
Yep.
That's so neat.
Now, Andy could survive this sort of stuff if this was coming through Sneak Attack, because he can survive a Emrakul hit, but through Show and Tell, that's going to be a lot harder.
More like Show and Hell. This is a really hard game to win.
Yep.
The big guy is about to clean up all of Andy's permanents.
No, Andy's going to get above 6. It's not going to be all of his permanents.
I guess you're right. He will get above 6.
It's going to be almost all of his permanents, and then he'll be at 3. Come on, Cedric.
I apologize. And he's gonna go through the motions here. I think he's gonna see if he can figure something out. I don't think there's a way out of this situation. This isn't the first time we've seen Sneak and Show do this before. As Brad Nelson's going to win game number 1 very quickly over Andy Ferguson. Sneak and Show up a game here over Affinity as we'll take a look at the sideboards. I'll start with, well, you want to start with Andy? You're part of the Andy fan club.
I am.
All right, it's all you.
4 Chalice of the Void, 4 Rest in Peace, 4 Aethersworn Candace, 2 Mindbreak Trap, 1 copy of Umazawa's Jete. Not really a lot to like here. I think the Chalices can come in because Brad's going to have his cantrips and stuff, and he can play it on turn 1, but there is not a lot to improve this matchup.
3 Pyroclasm, Blood Moon, 3 Defense Grid, 4 Land of Sanctity, 2 Graph Trigger's Cage, and oh, come on.
Come on, Brad.
What's the Shattering Sprees, 2 of those. What is this?
2 Shattering Sprees.
Maniac. Well, I guess those are coming in.
Yep, and the Pyroclasms aren't bad either.
Yeah. So the big issue here for Ferguson is, 1, I don't think this matchup was very good for him anyway. 2, he doesn't have great cards to sideboard into the matchup. And 3, Brad has great cards to sideboard in.
Yeah, this is a rough pairing for Andy, to put it as charitably as I possibly can.
Now, we will take a look at our schedule here in 2015, the opening dates. We will take a look-ski-poo and see that we are actually going to be starting 2015 here in Columbus. Then we'll follow up and go to Philly, a little Washington, D.C. action after a weekend off, and then we'll go to Indy.
And the Columbus and Indy tilts are going to be especially well attended, as
Of
they
course.
always are.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see 757 players to open up Season 1 of 2015 as we take a look at page number 2. We're going to Houston for the first time, February 14th and the 15th. LA after that for some warm weather. Baltimore, and then Grand Prix Miami. More information about that will be available at MTG-GP.com. A couple months down the road. We got to finish up New Jersey first. 2 more dates to close out Season 1. Dallas and our Invitational in Richmond. It was in Charlotte last year. It's in Richmond this go-around for Season 1 of 2015. Plan accordingly.
Should be a lot of fun. I wonder if Andy's deck here is a response to the Delver decks. I'm sure his affinity, the affinities matchup against Delver decks has to be really solid.
Yes, I think so. It seems like it would be good. I think it's probably closer than you think, but it's probably not as close as I think.
Are these blue-red decks beating an Arcbound Ravager? That seems really hard.
That depends on composition, obviously.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, they definitely have tools if they want to beat it to beat it, but it does seem like it's relatively difficult, yes. There is always force of will, you know?
Sure.
There's always force of will. Now, one thing I'll notice here, and this is something I've started to notice a little bit in sideboards. Now, you see Ferguson's sideboard. You know, he's got Chalice of the Voids geared towards certain things. Rest in Peace, obviously geared towards graveyards. Aethersworn Canvas geared towards combo decks, as are the Mindbreak Traps, and the kind of Miser's Umazawa's Jite. What we don't really see very much anymore are sideboards really geared towards Sneak and Show because it's declined so much.
Yep. I guess the most popular combo deck at this point is probably Elves. And the hate you need for Elves and Sneak and Show are very different cards.
It's really something because, you know, you think about 2 years ago, Huey Jensen's dominance on the Open Series with Sneak and Show, and Brad winning the Invitational in Indy with Sneak and Show, and, you know, we had Jerry top 8 that one, Sneak and Show, BBD, Huey as well. It was just really this dark cloud over the format, and then going into the Grand Prix in Washington, D.C. that Owen Turtenwald won, his first Grand Prix win, finally, we saw it make the finals with Sneak and Show, and that deck was coming into the tournament, everyone's like, well, I got to beat Sneak and Show, this deck is going to be everywhere. And it was everywhere, to be fair, but that's when Death and Taxes finally came out. You had Craig Wesco, Brian Kibler, and a whole bunch of people playing Death and Taxes to combat Sneak and Show. And then that's where the slow decline began, and now it's really been off the radar. We barely see it in top eights.
Yeah, I feel like once there's a little bit of momentum in Legacy, it becomes a lot of momentum. But it's hard for people to start moving towards playing different decks. Part of it's card availability. People like particular decks that they play. And so the format moves slowly, but it moves.
Moxel pull to start. It's like an ancient tomb. There's a Ravager on turn number 1 over to Nelson. We are going to go Volcanic Isle in the draw. Brad and Todd, both big fans of this deck. Todd going 1-1 today before dropping and taking care of some other things. But Brad off to a beautiful start. He's 5-0, trying to climb up our Season 4 leaderboard to qualify for the Players' Championship. Currently up a game and what looks to be quite a good matchup for him. And he's got a cantrip here with a Ponder.
I hope Andy can get a game win here, you know? Just get to do his thing once.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough.
Yeah.
This matchup is really tough for him. I'm gonna shuffle with the Ponder as Nelson. I still feel like there's a deck here somewhere. There's a bit of a conflict of interest, you know, because Tezzeret is so powerful, but you also want to be low to the ground with cards like Memnite and Ornithopter. You, of course, want to have enough creatures and artifacts for your Cranial Platings, which is a super powerful card. I guess maybe you can build a version of this deck without Cranial Plating, but that seems a little wild.
No, I think plating as champion is one of the things I would want to be doing in this format because there's so many Delver strategies.
Sure. There is a plating. It is resolving, it looks like. There's a Vault Scourge. Ferguson going to take some damage here.
Got some going.
Beatdowns. 1, 2. I'm going to count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus 1 from the Ravager. It looks to be 6. So Nelson should be going down to 14.
Look at this start. How is this fair, you know?
It's on turn 2.
How are you supposed to beat this?
That's, you know what? You're right. You're right. There's a Volcanic.
Although if Brad's curve here is turn 3, Show and Tell and Emrakul, that may not be fast enough.
Absolutely not. Ancient Den. Plus 1 to the plating. Memnite, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The little guy. Now Brad's going to do some counting here.
Helps with the Ravager and the plating.
Yep.
That is some synergy right there.
Don't forget it's free.
It's on the house.
Yep.
Stop accepting side event registration.
Looks like Brad is considering a Forcible maybe on the Memnite. He's bringing it forward in his hand.
Well, he may not be able to force a will anything else.
Yeah. This is an SCG Live first.
This is a sad day.
Force of Will of Memnite. Now here's a Tezzeret. I think he has. Oh, he removed a Spell Pierce. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he's got another.
Okay, he's got another Spell Pierce. Whew. That could have gotten ugly. Here's an attack. So we're going to count the damage here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artifacts in play. Plus 1 from the Raptor is 7. You add in 1 more for the Scourge. That's 8. Put him down to 5.
Ooh.
Gain a little bit of life. This is turn 3 for Ferguson. And it's a little funny, but Nelson may not be able to keep up here.
Well, Pyroclasm doesn't help, and I don't think Emrakul is fast enough here.
Yeah, it's show and tell. There's Emrakul, and it probably isn't fast enough because he has 2 black mana.
Can move that plating around inside of combat.
Also, he could move the plating just to the Vault Scourge.
Yeah.
And then eat everything. Yeah, so Emrakul's going to block. That's fine. Move it over. Ferguson knows it right away.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a W there for Affinity. You want to see him do his thing.
All right.
He got to. Andy Ferguson ties it up against Brad Nelson. It's time for game number 3 here between Affinity and Sneak and Show. That's pretty sweet, actually. Got to give it to you there.
It wasn't like Brad's draw was horrible. He had to turn 3, put something into play.
Yeah.
So Andy's showing that his deck at least can goldfish very quickly. He can win very quickly uncontested.
That's a turn 4 W, right?
Through Force of Will.
Yeah. That's a turn 4 W with the potential for, I believe, a turn 3 win because he would have been able to play Tezzeret and make a creature a 5/5.
Yeah.
So there's actually potential for a turn 3 win there, if my math is correct. That's pretty impressive stuff. Again, you can see the power, right? You have to believe that there's got to be something here.
The problem is that in this matchup, at least, he's at the mercy of Brad's draws. And maybe Andy's sitting down in deck construction saying, I'm just going to punt this matchup. Having enough Thought Seizes and other counter spells to try to bring in here is not worth the effort. And if I run a Sneak and Show, I'm willing to accept that the matchup's going to be really bad. Because his sideboard's devoted to beating a bunch of other stuff, you know? He's got 4 copies of Press and Peace. So he's fighting other matchups, just not this one.
2014 Open Series schedule is where we'll go next, as we do have just a few dates left here in the year. We'll go to New Jersey, of course, next week for the Grand Prix and Open Series in Richmond. You'll be enjoying your weekend off.
Sort of. I mean, I'll be up in East Lansing, Michigan, so I'm still getting on an airplane, but I will enjoy my weekend off.
Okay. Open Series in Atlanta. We'll be back together taking care of that one. Then a couple of dates on a West Coast tilt. We'll go to Portland. You will be working. I will not. I will be battling, and then we'll do an Open Series Invitational for season number 4 in Seattle. Punch the rest of those invites to the Players' Championship, which will happen the week after in Roanoke.
And the Players' Championship is going to be so much fun.
Oh, yeah. Grand Prix next weekend's going to be a blast. Players' Championship, too. Can't wait for both of those shows to close out season number 4 here for 2014. Players shuffling up for game number 3. Nelson will be on the play. Still think it's a great matchup for Sneak and Show.
No doubt about it. And Brad's sideboard is no joke. I mean, it's not like he's gunning for Affinity, but he just happens to have Pyroclasms and Shattering Sprees.
See what Nelson can put together here. Ferguson, hey, it's been one heck of a weekend for him. Making a name for himself. Second place in our standard open with a Mardu deck tilted more towards the aggressive side, but Bloodsoaked Champion. Now he's sitting at 5-0 with Affinity. He likes to beat down.
Yep. I love it.
I respect a man who likes to beat down.
Even in Legacy, when you can just die so fast, you know? Some people just like to attack.
We are who we are.
It's cathartic.
Looks like Brad's taking a long look here at his opening hand.
Well, Brad, I think, has to mulligan pretty aggressively in this matchup for a couple of reasons. One is he can die very quickly. And 2 is his opponent's presenting no disruption. So he doesn't have to worry about losing to a Force of Will. He can afford to be, look for good 6-card hands because his bad 7-card hands, he might just die too fast.
So, to be fair, Nelson doesn't know that his opponent doesn't really have cards like, Force of Will, or I guess Force of Will is a poor example, but just some sort of permission.
Could be
on their
Thoughtseize
side.
or Spell Pierce, I guess.
Yeah.
Those cards are in play, but that's pretty light on disruption. The bigger concern is getting killed really quickly, not Andy presents enough disruption to keep Brad from resolving something significant.
Ferguson's going to take a mulligan, so he's going to go down to 6 cards. We'll see what he can find as he is on the draw. A lot of great players having great weekends looking for Open Series points. Of course, we'll have the weekend off as far as the Open Series is concerned next week for the Grand Prix, but we'll see who does show up in Richmond after that, as well as Atlanta after that. Players are on the chase here to qualify for the Players' Championship. Brad, one of them.
Brad's on the top of the list of people who are really questing for one of those invites.
See when his friend Todd's able to put together a good weekend too. To be fair, Todd had a good open yesterday. He
did?
He lost a really tough match playing for top 8. So
Lost very early in the tournament, rattled off a bunch of rounds in a row, and just fell a match short.
Ferguson taking a long look at his 6. See if he can find something he likes here. Well, Nelson does patiently wait. Looks like he's going to keep. Nelson with an Ancient Tomb, a Lotus Petal. Okay. No show and tell. It's very scary when they do that.
Yep. Yeah, Brad, I think, has no other lands in his hand, has something to put into play, no show and tell, does have a sneak attack.
It's an Ornithopter.
So he's got a lot of draws to make this hand a payout.
Springleaf Drum as well. Pass the turn back. Nelson will draw. Looks like it's a copy of Brainstorm.
Although I would be really concerned about resolving a naked sneak attack here, because a card that Andy could very realistically have is Phyrexian Revoker.
Yep.
We know it's not in his list, but it's not out of the question that he could have it. Now, Brad has Force of Will, so he can go for it, but he's then without red mana because it requires both of his Lotus Petals.
The thing is, you can see why Brad took such a long time deciding to keep his hand. His hand is a little all over the place and what it can accomplish. You know, he doesn't really have a stable source of colored mana. He's got the Lotus Petal there. Does he actually want to cast Brainstorm off of that Lotus Petal? There's the potential to get Brainstorm locked.
Exactly.
And that's a disaster against a deck that can kill you as quickly as Ferguson's did. And now Nelson just has to pass the turn back. So Ferguson is going to draw a card.
Another thing to keep in mind here, if all Brad can get to is sneak attack in an Emrakul, depending on Andy's draw, that might not be good enough to win the game. Play might just go on.
See the sign up.
Up to 4 permanents.
Here's the Thoughtcast. It's been a long time since I've seen a one-mana Thoughtcast. Off a Seat of the Synod, no less. Ornithopter. Among the draws there. Once upon a time, I wanted that card banned.
Really? This was the card you would point at?
Well, this is when I was a little younger and
okay.
losing to Affinity a lot, when in reality I should have just been casting the card. Here's a Chalice of the Void. Interesting. That's on 1, of course. Really good against Sneak and Show. Looks like Nelson may respond with a Brainstorm, yep. So 3 cards coming here. Didn't get a great look at him. But this is a crucial, crucial Brainstorm.
I think we might be looking at no more lands.
Mm-hmm. But we are looking at, I believe, at a show and tell. And you can see in his hand, he does have a Lotus Petal there. So he might have found what he was looking for. Maybe a little bit of posturing, we'll see.
Well, he's got to be really worried because all of this collapses if Andy has one thing to break it up. You know, he's skating on a very narrow margin right now.
Yeah, there's a Lotus Petal. This is a show and tell. And Ferguson wants to take a look, make sure he knows exactly what it does. I think somebody has a Tezzeret in their hand.
It doesn't help with Planeswalkers.
Yeah. Designed a long time ago. Nowadays, if show and tell were a card, I would say probably put permanent into play.
Permanent, yep.
Cranial Plague's going to come in.
Unless for power level reasons they specifically wanted to exclude Planeswalkers, then they would say non-Planeswalker permanent.
Emrakul is what Nelson brings to class. It was good game 1. It's looking pretty good game 3. Ferguson does have 6 permanents in play at this point, but he's staring down a 15-15.
Well, if he can get 9 more artifacts into play and then move the plating on the Ornithopter, then Brad may have to block, and it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be really hard.
It's gonna be tough. Though I do hope for the day that I watch an Ornithopter, slay an Emrakul. That would be the greatest day. 7 artifacts in play right now. Andy gonna tap 3 mana here. Let's make it 4. There's Tez, and a Force Will says absolutely not.
I think this is Andy's last stand.
Maybe the last thing he had left.
Yep.
He knows he's about to lose 6 of his permanents. And Brad kept I don't think sketchy is the right word, just a risky hand.
It's a hand I don't think he can keep in most matchups, but he's pretty confident Andy's not going to be bringing a lot of disruption to the table. Brad had a Force of Will, and there's a lot of draw steps that make that hand a winner. So I think that even though it looks super greedy, I think that's a fine keep.
And these truthfully are the kind of hands that Sneak and Show does have to keep, as Nelson's going to attack with Emrakul and win the game. So Brad Nelson's going to win this match over Andy Ferguson. Sneak and Show moves on to 6-0 in the hands of Brad Nelson, number 13 on our Season 4 leaderboard.
I'm rooting for you, Andy. That's a rough round. You shake it off. You still got an opportunity to win a couple more. Find yourself in the top 8.